Welcome back to the All We Do Is Talk podcast. We are here for our NFC conference preview, season preview. Football is back. Fellas, husbands, boyfriends, fathers, it's time to have your meeting today. The season starts tomorrow. Have your meeting today. Let them know you will be busy Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Mondays after 8 o'clock. You already know. So if you have to talk with them now, you'll have a stress-free fall. But if you try to push it on too late, you may be having a couple of interruptions on Sundays. Other than that, congratulations to all the fellas out there. Football is back. How you doing out there?
NFC football. It's so bad. How you doing today, Moody? I'm ready to get this going in the conference that our teams reside in. It should be a interesting season. They're gonna be 7 playoff teams that come out of this conference. Technically
7 teams will play a playoff game in the NFC. Now, are there 7 playoff teams in the NFC? We'll see. So, if you saw our last video for the AFC conference, we're gonna do it just like this: worst division to best division, give you the storylines, and then give you a prediction at the end of how it'll finish. So, I think the clear worst division in the NFL, the worst division in the NFC, one of the worst divisions you'll ever see, the 2023 NFC South. I think the starting quarterbacks are Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, and Baker Mayfield. Not a whole lot to discuss really there.
Two of those guys were the number 1 overall pick in respected drafts in the last 5 years.
Here's how I see it as Isaiah. First overall pick retread, veteran contract retread, and hoping for a midday miracle. Those are the quarterbacks that we're seeing in this division.
Wish I was playing. Good thing. Hey, they were worse last year when we played the whole division. So we actually still played on the right side.
They've actually improved as a division from where it got started. All right, so we're going to start off with NFC South. Worst first. This was hard because all these teams could be the worst. They all deserve 4th position. Like, that's really how this looks right here. I'm going to say the worst team will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be the worst. They have the most veteran talent, so they have the ability to be better than what they are. They can show some fight like early 2021 Texans, where we thought they were going to go 0-17, but they won a couple games because of some feisty veteran hardship. But after that's going to fall. It's going to be bad. That's going to be a bad team. Mike Evans already got a foot out the door. The offensive line's not great. They're moving worse over the left tackle. Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield at this point. And the defense has not only hit their plateau, they're nose down. And they really don't. I like Kalijah Kancey for them. Him and Vita Vea, that's good to put the tackle pairing. But Shaq Barrett's coming off a torn Achilles. Tryon Shane never really worked out for them. It's just not a ton of talent on that Tampa Bay team. And you remove the Tom Brady leadership element out of it to the tie that raises all boats. It's not a lot to like Tampa Bay there. I'm expecting a 4, 5, 6 win season at best for them. At number 3, I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. I personally was a guy who was a major fan of Bryce Young. I call him the Black Aaron Rodgers. I think he's got that kind of high-end talent, especially as a point guard playmaker. But the team around him is a big ball offense. It's really bad. They've already dealing with injuries. Adam Thielen got hurt in practice today. DJ Chark was always hurt. Is hurt again. The offensive line has talent. It should be better, but that didn't really come to fruition. Seeing them take starters reps in preseason, I saw Bryce Young running for his life already. I just don't know if Bryce Young, as good as he is, because he doesn't need a lot of talent. At Alabama last year, that wasn't a super talented offense, and he still was producing. Like, he can produce without elite weapons. I don't think he needs that. But in the NFL, you need elite weapons to win. And it's going to be hard to win games with Adam Thielen and DJ Chark as your top receivers, especially if they're already hurt. Love the defense. The defense should be one of the 10 best in the league. But offensively, I think they'll struggle to score enough points. At number 2, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. This is their last ride. They brought in Derek Carr. They're going to try to put this together. Hope the defense can hold it together one more time for them to try to make one run with a decent quarterback. but that's past the City will get. They have enough talent on their offense. I like Olave. Alvin Kamara will be back at some point, and they'll be able to. They should be able to put together some decent offensive production and have a solid defense. This screams 8-9, 7-10 on their high end 9-8, which will probably be good enough to win this division. But I think they'll be second place behind my first place, the Atlanta Falcons, who I think have the worst quarterback of all these teams in the division, but their run game gives them such a high floor in terms of how it's going to produce. They're going to run the ball 40 times a game. It's going to be 20 carries for Bijan, 15 for Algier, another 5 to Cordell Patterson, some scrambles for Desmond Ritter. I hope Kyle Pitts and Drake London will work on their blocking. That's all they're doing. Block. Defensively, Atlanta low-key spent a bunch of money to add to that defense. They're trying to get that to raise that defense's floor. They have some good talent on there. I'm a big fan of Jesse Bates myself. Hopefully, AJ Terrell has a bounce back here as well. I like their draft pick from last year. This will be one of my breakout pass rusher picks. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State. I like him a lot from that place out Atlanta. And I think Arthur Smith's the best coach. So I think Atlanta will take the division off of their high floor run game and good defense.
Okay. You want to repeat that again one more time?
So Atlanta will finish 1, New Orleans at 2, the Panthers at 3, and the Bucks at 8.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure because you've got it in the same exact order as I, for many of the same exact reasons. Desmond Ritter was my favorite quarterback in his draft class, and it was probably the worst quarterback draft class of the last 10 years. Yeah, going all the way back to that 2013 class, which was Derek Carr in that class?
Nah, Derek Carr's 14 with Manziel.
14. Okay. So yeah, the E.J. Manuel class was only worse because it looks like Matt Corral's career he's already on his second team, and Malik Willis is fighting, but he might get a chance. Who knows? Sam Howell. They're guys that still have a chance to prove it, but it's clearly not a superior quarterback class. Kenny Pickett still too, but I still like Desmond Ritter to be the best quarterback in that class. And if Kenny Pickett has turned out to be good enough for Pittsburgh, then I'm going to say Desmond Ritter could be a hair better off a more physical upside and better running ability, which fits perfectly in the scheme where they're going to run the ball a lot. I do think we get a breakout season from Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
Only because you drafted Kyle Pitts in your fantasy. That's agenda, propaganda.
What a breakout season entails for guys that have not really had any crazy season, even though Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards as a rookie. So he could have that again, but I think he'll get in the end zone more, and Drake London will be a better red zone threat. I think those guys will help with some jump balls in the red zone. So, I expect a lot from that offense, and I think they have the best head coach. Recently, I had Carolina at 2, but after seeing the offensive line problems and the receiver injury problems and the rookie quarterback in the new system with a coach that's coming off a lackluster end to his last season, I had to drop him down and put some respect on the Saints' veteran presence. I think Derek Carr was worse than Andy Dalton last year, so it'll be interesting to see how that one works out, because if they can't protect them, Derek Carr is one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure. So, do with that what you can. I also believe this division touts the 2 worst head coaches in the NFL, in Todd Bowles and Dennis Allen, 2 guys that replace legendary Super Bowl winning offensive coaches. So they kind of both got handed a job because of who they knew. And I just think neither are real head coaches. They're defensive coordinators. So they'll have the defensive ready, but they'll play a style of football that'll be pragmatic for their offense. So that's my downside for New Orleans. I'll take the Panthers because I like their young talent. Trading DJ Moore sucks, but happy to see Bryce Young. Hopefully he stays healthy because Ike Ekwonu did not look great this preseason, which is shocking because he was actually pretty good last year. And they don't actually have much else around that offensive line. I think they got
Moton.
Moton, yeah, he's a serviceable tackle, but that's kind of been his peak. He has never reached that good level that he showed that he might have been up to a couple years ago. And as for the Bucks, aging defense with Shaquille Barrett coming off of Achilles, no Jason Pierre-Paul, still got Vita Vea. I think their first-round pick from Pittsburgh, Kalijah Kancey, is already hurt. which is tough because he could have been great next to Vita Vea. That could have given their defensive line extra life. I'm pretty sure Devin White is still looking for a contract extension. That's not going to be boat well if the team is bad, because bad player on contract, looking for new contract on bad team, will probably give up the first chance he gets if he gets hurt. And in the secondary, they got all their secondary guys still, but
those guys aren't good.
No, Jamal Dean and Carlos Davis are good starting cornerbacks.
They look like top 10 corners that are just starting corners.
The best hope for them is that all the best assets they have stay healthy, and by the trade deadline, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, those two corners, Devin White, you can send them out the door. And also, we're going to be looking at Tristan Wirfs, who was my favorite tackle from that draft, who has been the best tackle from that draft until recently when Andrew Thomas stepped up. He is making the switch from right tackle to left tackle. He also does not have a contract. So, I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
He's a guy that if things are going belly up, I mean, he's a good piece to keep for our young quarterback that you're probably going to be getting next year. But if he's not good and other team wants to trade for him and take him to be right tackle, move him back to right tackle, he's also another guy that can be traded. So, I mean, I think this team has nothing but one of the worst records in the league staring them in the face. And the real question is, will we get to see any Kyle Trask this year?
I think definitely. I definitely think Kyle Trask will make an appearance this year. So moving on to the NFC North, I think we'll call the second worst division in the NFC. Although I think the NFC West is going to be pretty close to it as well. A lot of question marks here. The Vikings had one of the fakest 13-4 seasons you'll ever see. Everyone knew they were frauds across the board, and they showed up in the playoffs once again.
They put up a good fight. They put up a good fight in the playoffs. They put up a good fight in the playoffs.
The 2 seed did a good job putting up a fight at home to get sent home by the 7 seed in the first half. The Vikings are probably still the most overall. I don't even know about that, honestly. I don't think so, actually. The Vikings looks like they'll be taking a step back. I like that. When you cut your star running back, despite his production did fall off, Ezekiel Elliott-ish, so I can see why he got cut. And when teams like that do that, the writing starts to be put on the wall. But we'll start at number 4. Sadly, I think it'll be the Chicago Bears. As much of a Justin Fields and Matt Eagles guy that I am, they're just not ready yet. They've added some good pieces, though. DJ Moore is a massive upgrade over anything they had last year. I think he's taught Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool properly in their spaces. I think Khalil Herbert was $20 to Peter Montgomery, like Tyler Winston. He'll finally get a chance at the number 1 runner to really show his skills. And maybe Kokomet finally they paid him. So maybe he finally lives up to the hype that he had on him. But I don't trust the defense. I don't think they don't really have anything at edge rusher. They don't. I think they signed Edmonds. I think they added some linebackers.
And Edmonds and Edwards. Edwards from Philly.
They upgrade the linebacker spot significantly. I still don't love what they have at safety. Brisker's fine. Eddie Jackson is okay. He's just not that guy.
Year 2 for Kyler Gordon.
Year 2 for Kyler Gordon. They have some, and they play a nice conservative defense that's going to allow those guys to play fast and play physical. But it's just not enough overall at all 3 levels, specifically at the premium positions, for me to pick the Bears to get anything out of the basement, barring a super massive Justin Fields jump. Well, I think he'll be great. He ran 4,000 yards last year. I don't know if he's ready to ascend to that level yet, but he's carrying franchise. At number 3, it'll be the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully, I just don't believe they did it again. But he looked good in preseason, so I can't lie. But I can't believe that they did it again and found another 20-year franchise starter behind their Hall of Fame starter. So I refuse to believe that. As far as that goes, I think the Packers have really good talent to have a decent floor, but I don't trust their quarterback. I don't trust their offensive weapons. The offensive line has been decent, but Aaron Rodgers kind of makes a lot of that by his ability to get the ball out quick. He's not hanging on to the ball, stuff like that as well. So it's a whole new era in Green Bay. I'm not sure which way it's going to go. We'll see how Jordan Love looks. I'm very excited to see what that franchise looks like with a new quarterback. At number 2, I'll go to Minnesota Vikings. Like, they won a bunch of one possession games last year. The Vikings were one of those teams where we kept losing these close games for years. Like another team we'll talk about in the NFC East. We kept losing these close games for years, and this year we won them. This year they finally went. The coin flips went our way. The ball bounces went our way. They were probably more of a 9-10 win team that fell into 13 wins. And you kind of saw how that reflected. You kind of saw how their offseason moves. They didn't look like a team that was all in on trying to win, to try to boost up to the next level. They look like a team that kind of knows where they are and looks ready to move on from their quarterback. And at number 1, one of the best rebuild jobs we've seen in a long time finally comes to a head. The Detroit Lions finally win the NFC North for the first time in franchise history. The division. The division. And that's not even overly. It's surprising that they haven't done it yet. And Jared Goff, who the second best quarterback in the division, third best. It doesn't really matter where you want to put it. We had an impressive list, but I expected the Lions to finally have finished their rebuild. The offensive line should still be good. I didn't like what they did in the first round, but those are high floor picks. The running back and the linebacker, those are going to increase the floor of the team, even if it's going to cap the ceiling in 3 years when you're trying to actually compete for something. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. Jameson Williams, when he gets back, that's another dynamic threat. St. Brown, that's a good team. That's a good team. They've been building up. They're bought into the culture. They're bought into the head coach. They were 9-8 last year, playing with a bunch of momentum. It feels like the typical Detroit flameout, but I think they'll actually overcome it this time. Win 9 games, win 10 games because the division isn't very good. And I think they finally take the time this year.
This is a crapshoot. This is the same crapshoot as the AFC North, but different. It's going to be which one of these teams actually reaches expectations. That's in the AFC. In the AFC North, it was like, all right, we got high floors all around. This is high ceilings all around, but with very low floors. So let's take this one at a time. Who was the worst team in the division? I kind of agree with what you said about Chicago. I just like what they have. I just don't like what they have in the trenches, where games are won and lost.
Especially in a cold weather division.
And Justin Fields was talking about he doesn't like playing in the cold, surprisingly. Man, Moody, I like what you did. So I'm gonna go Bears. Bears at 4. Oh, Minnesota has so many. Bears at 4 for sure. I just don't like what they have on the offensive line or defensive line. I think I got to go Vikings at 3 because I think they have the second weakest offensive and defensive line combination. They're second weakest in the trenches. I think all these teams have good weapons, and all the quarterbacks are still to this point either unproven or capped. So I think I got to go with Minnesota at 3 to be the team that regresses. Some team has to regress, and I mean, it's easy to pick the team that everyone's picking to regress, but there's a reason everyone's picking Minnesota to regress. I like that they got Addison, Hawkinson signed up. Jefferson should be signed back up. I don't think the running back really matters because apparently they like Madison and some guys behind him. But and I like the coaching. But I just think like this Kirk Cousins ceiling, we've seen Russell Wilson come back down to earth recently, tailing off. We've seen Ryan Tannehill, physical limitations starting to exist, coming back down to earth and the top tail end of his career. And Kirk Cousins is from that class, so I just can't I don't know how long you can ride the Kirk Cousins wave. He's kind of reached his last rides coming up here. So I'm just going to put him at 3 and hope that they could do a little mini rebuild. They have enough pieces around them where they just need to reshuffle that defense. Got to fix that secondary. Brian Flores is there, so the defense should be better because he's a great defensive mind, but I just think they're weak in the trenches. Them and Chicago are clearly weak in the trenches. At 2, I was going to put Detroit, but we've been riding the bandwagon for years now. So I'm going to put Green Bay's unknown at 2 because even the great Aaron Rodgers didn't make the playoffs his first year in Green Bay. So I'm going to have to back. And we saw recently that both of their young receivers are coming in banged up already with soft tissue injuries, which that can make for a long season. If they don't have Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs out there, they still have nothing. But they got some rookie tight ends, but they still have nothing on the outside other than those guys. So they need those guys. And they got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I'm pretty sure A.J. Dillon's got to be in a contract year, and Aaron Jones gave up money. So we'll see how that works. But defensively, I like their front seven. You know, Luke Van Ness, I thought was an underrated player. Quay Walker, he just got to stop doing the stupid shit, and he could be a really great linebacker. In front of him, they have Wyatt. They have Wyatt, right?
Wyatt.
Yeah.
Kenny Clark's still there.
Clark's still there.
Gary coming off the injury.
Yeah. Oh, Gary, who was amazing before he got hurt. So I like what they got in their front seven. I like Jari Alexander, not as the best corner, but he's still really good at what he does.
He can guard Justin Jefferson. That's about all he can do.
Yeah. So could Adoree Jackson. So could
Trayvon
Diggs. And Justin, we didn't mean to take no shots at you. We're just saying what these guys have been able to do against you. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Detroit at 2.
Green Bay at 2.
Green Bay at 2. You see how bad I want to put Green Bay at 2. And like Moody said, for the first time in 100-plus years, the Detroit Lions win their first division title in the NFL, in the NFC North history.
And they might be the oldest. They're the oldest division, and they might be the oldest team, and they haven't won it yet. Like, they haven't even fallen into it. It's crazy.
So, yeah, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. But I do think that all these teams can reach high. Any of these teams can win this division, and this division is the one with the NFC North that could be in the most random order, and I could see it happening. It's going to be random here. But that's what I got for the NFC. And as for Detroit, yeah, you talk mostly about offensive line. I think the biggest problem for Detroit is, what do they do with Ben Johnson? Do you let an offensive mind like that at that age walk out your door for Dan Campbell?
Yeah, that's a big storyline. You got to have the guy grooming. There's got to be a guy taking all the offensive assistant, QB coach. Somebody's got to be in there jotting all these secrets down and getting ready to take that job over. Because I don't think you can fire Dan Campbell. That's the heart, soul, emotional
of the team.
Of the team. He's the face of the franchise. To be fair, he's the most popular player on the franchise. So
yeah,
it's hard to do that. But I definitely see your point. This is why you generally hire the offensive guy, because when the offensive coordinator blows up, these are the situations that you can get into.
Which Dan Campbell's an offensive guy. He's an offensive coach.
Yeah,
but now he's more Mike Tomlin, where I used to be an offensive coach. Now I'm a head coach.
Yeah, he's a head coach.
Head coach. Yeah. So hopefully he knows. Hopefully he gave Ben Johnson the secrets. Hopefully he's the one that has the secrets. So, but a young offensive mind like Ben Johnson, that's gonna be tough to lose.
All right, we're gonna move forward next to the NFC West, the former best division in the league. What a fall! What a fall! Just from 2 years ago, we thought these teams were going to put 4 teams in the playoffs. Now, they may have the worst roster in the NFL sitting in that division. So we'll start with a clear number 4, the taking team of the NFL, the team that's going to hopefully add Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. next year and show something. But what a fall off for the Arizona Cardinals! And this is a team with a $250 million quarterback. Like that, like it is an ugly, ugly, ugly situation in Arizona. I think the biggest question is, does Kyler play? No.
Moody, the Cardinals, since we're going to kick the Cardinals while they're down, they have one job, and one job only, and that's to lose every single game and root against the Texans. They have one job and one job only. Lose every game, and their quarterback competition is Romeo Dobbs versus Clayton Tune, so do with that what you will. I
think Dobbs won it. I think they announced Dobbs as the winner.
Do with that what you will. But they have – and Dobbs has actually found a way to stick around the league. He is not absolute trash like he used to be when he first started.
Yeah.
But they have probably the worst quarterback room, worst running back room, bottom 5 receiver room, worst offensive line, worst defensive line, worst linebacker unit, worst secondary. Minus Buda Baker. So a bottom 5 secondary, because a box safety / nickel safety is not really enough to turn your secondary out by itself into something crazy. No. So they have the worst position group in almost everything in the league. So they have one job. Don't win. And it's okay, because they're going to have their choice of quarterback, preferably Caleb Williams, and Marvin Harrison Jr. / offensive tackle. So 1 year of the worst you'll ever see for a chance to add two of the best offensive pieces in a ridiculously stacked offensive draft, it could be worse.
They got some help on the way, Isaiah, because I was just taking a look at the Cardinals' schedule. They have the NFC East and the AFC North this year. Their first 3 games of the season are the NFC East, the Commanders, Giants, and Cowboys before the San Francisco 49ers. So it's going to be downhill right away. We know what's coming here. This is about to be ugly.
All right, continue your list.
All right, so at number 3, I think it's a pretty clear number 3. This team would be the worst team in most other eras if it wasn't for how bad the Cardinals were tanking, and that is the LA Rams. Cooper Kupp might be going on IR. That's a disaster. They already don't have any talent on that team outside of the quarterback, the wide receiver, and the defensive tackle. They shipped the other talented player out of town. It's not great. I don't expect Aaron Donald or Matthew Stafford to finish the season, to be honest with you. I think both of those guys will quit whenever they're bye week. Those guys will be ready to quit because this is not going to be a good football team. They're starting a lot of midday picks, UDFAs that they've hit on. And this is a Rams team. They have good coaching, and this is a Rams team that does a good job hitting on those midday picks. But this is a team they went all in. They got their Super Bowl, and this is the damage of it. They gave up a top 5 pick last year. They will be giving up another one. Do they have their pick this year? I think they'll be giving up another pick this year. They have
for the first time in years.
They have their pick.
They have their pick.
So they will be looking for their future, possibly quarterback next year. It's going to be bad, but I think Stafford, whenever Kupp plays, and Aaron Donald by themselves will win more games than the Arizona Cardinals. That's the only reason they're third here. But this is one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, we might as well. Clear 3. So I might as well knock them out. Clear 3. I had hope for them. I believe in Sean McVay's coaching. Stafford to Kupp with Aaron Donald. Not what they were 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even a year ago. But I mean, with that much talent, with that type of talent in those positions, you could have done something. The moment Cooper Kupp got re-injured and decided that he has to go see an extra specialist about a hamstring injury, is when I was like, oh, this is going to be that type of season. Like Moody said, the moment that Stafford's wife's already letting out secrets that he don't want to be there, he's there to collect his bag. And Aaron Donald, have we heard from Aaron Donald since the parade? Has anybody identified that that's even currently Aaron Donald, not a clone?
I'm telling you, he's quitting on the season. There's just no way he plays all. There's just no way after Halloween he's interested in playing football anymore.
The best case this team could do is possibly trade away all of those healthy assets by the trade deadline. But I don't know where this team is. I don't care where this team is going because they already got the Super Bowl. They don't care where they're going. They're just riding the wave out, ride it out. I don't think they're as far away because their coaching is good. And if McVay is there for a rebuild, they could re-up and get a quarterback like Drake May in, Penix, Sanders, and we could rebuild this, get this going again. But for this year, yeah, probably a bottom 5 team. Sucks. This sucks.
McVay's certainly young enough to stick around for a rebuild. So if that's what he wants to do, he could definitely do so. All right. At number 2, I think it's pretty chalk. I still think it's pretty clear. The Seattle Seahawks at number 2. Now, this is also kind of by default. I like Seattle. I think Seattle will be a playoff team, but I think this is more of a default number 2 pick because the other 2 teams in their division are so awful. I expect Geno Smith regression. I think I have to start off right there. Like, Geno Smith had a great breakout season this past season. Like, one of the best, top 10 quarterback seasons. That's the type of.
For those of you who don't know, Geno Smith threw the most touchdowns of any quarterback in the NFC last year.
Yeah. Like, Geno Smith had a hell of a season. A lot of it came on a lot of high difficulty things that he had never been able to do before. That's hard for most quarterbacks to do. But this last season, he was doing them at a high level. Seattle hit on a bunch of picks, so now they have 2 starting off with the tackles. They added Jackson Smith and Jigba to that group as well. DK Metcalf's obviously a receiver 1 in this league. They like Kenneth Walker. They added Zach Charbonnet. Pete Carroll he was right. Pete Carroll was the guy. I apologize. Pete Carroll was the guy doing the job, not Mr. Russell Wilson. And I apologize to Mr. Pete Carroll. He is the energizer. He is the driver of that franchise. It's Pete Carroll. And I put my faith in Pete Carroll now. So I expect the Seahawks to be a 9-10 win team. They should have a high level offense. As long as Geno doesn't go back to a pumpkin. Geno's just 90%, 80% of what he was this past season. That's still like the second best QB in the production in the division just because of the talent he has around him. Defensively, you hope Seattle takes a step forward. I like the Nwosu signing from them from the Chargers. Boye Mafe looked like he's going to be making a step up this year. Bobby Wagner is back home in Seattle. Hope that moves Jordan Brooks to the will spot where he can be a little bit more effective. Jamal Adams, for the first time in a couple of years, may actually play and get on the field consistently. They drafted Tariq Woolen. Like that Seattle team has plenty of pieces to be a competitive team in their division. Unfortunately, I think the best team in their division is the best team in the conference. But for Seattle themselves, they're still really good. I think they'll be one of the top 7 in the very end. And at number 1, San Francisco 49ers. I think that's the clear. I think they're the favorite in the NFC. I think they're the clear best team in the NFC, despite the kind of side drama they've got going on. You see the talent out there. The talent is undeniable. Brock Purdy looks fine. And if Brock Purdy looks fine, San Francisco can win 12, 13, 14 games because the rest of their talent around them is going to be so good. Kyle Shanahan's going to be so good. It's not going to matter. Their one pitfall can be if the offensive line falls apart. Trent Williams went from never being healthy to like the healthiest tackle in the league since he went to San Francisco, which is extremely annoying. But
no, I mean, it's a bad look for Washington.
Bad look for Washington for sure. But the rest of the offensive line isn't very good, though. Mike McGlinchey is gone. They're replacing him with I can't think about exactly who they're replacing him with right now. But the San Francisco offensive line has the potential to be the derailer for that team. The defense should still be very, very good. Congratulations to Nick Bosa on getting his big bag today. But yeah, the defense has a high enough floor. They added Hargraves. The offense with Kyle Shanahan has a high enough floor. This is a top 2-3 team in the conference, top 2, maybe a top 3-4 team in the league, and they'll be competing for the NFC Championship game this year.
I've got a surprise for you. I've got it flipped. We eat at Geno's in my house.
And we don't write back.
And we don't write back. Leave you on red. So starting with San Francisco, they're loaded. Offensively, they'll be fine with the schemes and the players they have. Offensive line, good way to bring up McGlinchey is gone because they have weaknesses in the interior already with McGlinchey. They really have Ty Smith. I mean, wrong NFC East tackle that's been dominating my team for the last 10 years. They have Trent Williams and four nobodies. And they really haven't really been drafting. They haven't drafted to replenish that offensive line, surprisingly, which is shocking. But I don't like how they handled the Trey Lance situation. They better hope Brock Purdy stays healthy, and they better hope that his interceptions that were so consistently dropped last year are consistently continue to be dropped, because that could a couple more turnovers can change everything. And I think that's what will happen. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to fall off into a cliff, but I think we're looking more of a Gardner Minshew type of player where it's like, oh, he could play. Oh, we didn't know this guy could play quarterback in the NFL level, but let's not get carried away and think that this guy's the next Tom Brady. So I think the scheme will keep him upright, but I just like what Seattle has. They played a bunch of young players last year, so now all those young players are going to be experienced this year. 2 tackles, 2 corners. They're getting Jamal Adams back for anybody who forgot about him. He actually, when last spotted, people were saying he was a top 10 safety. It's crazy that they traded away 2 first-round picks for him. They could actually be way ahead. They might not have to trade away Russell Wilson if they had not traded 2 first-round picks. So do with that what you can. But they're getting him back. I like what they did in the draft, that to bring in Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's the perfect third receiver, future replacement for Tyler Lockett. Perfect. I think they have a wide receiver corp that rivals the Cincinnati Bengals, which means they have a new ceiling. That uncaps your ceiling, because now it's like they're not going to be seeing press man. They're not going to be seeing extra aggressive defenses. So
and a good run game.
Exactly. Kenneth Walker has shown that he's going to be injury prone. Zach Charbonnet has shown he's going to be injury prone. But I actually like the running back they got from Georgia, McIntosh. So there's a three-headed monster right there. Both tackles coming back being better. Defense is young. Tariq Woolen has been slighted for Sauce Gardner hype, even though, hey, Sauce Gardner is better than Tariq Woolen. I don't care what y'all say.
Didn't they draft Witherspoon?
Oh, and they got Witherspoon on the other side, I didn't think Witherspoon had the potential to be a number one shutdown corner, but playing off of Tariq Woolen as in a 1A, 1B, where they have to split that responsibility of being the shutdown guy, where they could actually just both be crazy playmakers that attack the football nonstop, is going to be amazing to watch. I do wish Seattle had more pass rush. I think their pass rush is a little weaker than it used to be in their LOB days. But they're getting Bobby Wagner back, so he's going to be able to teach these young guys the ways of LOB. Getting him back is kind of a steal. I think he's not the same linebacker he was 2 years ago, but he knows that system, and he'll be able to coach it up. And I just think they have the better quarterback, and I think they have the championship coach. I don't think Pete Carroll's the better coach than Shanahan. I think he's the championship coach. He has what it takes. So I do think both teams will make the playoffs, but I just think Seattle's going to be a hair better.
Oh, that's a big jump. I think there's a little bit of a gap between SF and Seattle, but if things break right for Seattle, it's just all about what Geno does. If Geno's this guy now, it definitely changes what Seattle can do going forward. All right. Last but certainly not the least, we're actually calling it the Beast now, the NFC East, that has reclaimed its glory as the top division in the conference. They're back, better than ever. All teams looking on the upswing. A bunch of teams that look like they're trying to take the next steps to get to where we'll see about that. But the other three teams in the division are definitely looking to close that down. And Philadelphia, they just have had so many high-level draft picks to get to their team that it's kind of hard for them to fall off. But once again, we'll go 4-1. All these teams finished 500 or better last year. I think that could easily be the case this year, depending on how Sam Howell looks. And Sam Howell looked okay. And Washington seems to be a little bit of a sleeping giant. Now that the Dan Snyder thing has gone through, maybe a revitalized fan base. But I still think the Commanders this year will finish at number 4 because the other three teams are clear playoffs. But Sam Howell has the potential to look. He has good weapons around him. Offline, okay. Don't love the run game as well, but Sam Howell can make things happen with his legs as well. Eric Bieniemy finally gets his chance to be away from Andy Reid and see what kind of offensive play caller he really is. If Eric Bieniemy is that guy, he could be the head coach of the Commanders next year if things go right for him. They're defensively for the Commanders. They were a top 10 unit last year without Chase Young the whole year. They're getting Chase Young back. I like Emmanuel Forbes. I don't think he should have been drafted as high as he was, but I do like Emmanuel Forbes a lot as a cornerback. Washington has talent. This is a team that can win 8 games, 9 games. I think teams won't be taking them seriously because they're Washington and they'll steal a couple wins that way. And they're playing a 4th place schedule in a bad conference. So I expect the Washington Commanders to win a decent amount of games, but they still will be in the basement dwellers. At number 3, I'm going to go with the New York Giants. This is a team on a massive upswing. I hated the Brian Daboll and Josh Poles additions because I thought those were franchise-saving level hires right there. Those were good quality personnel guys, coach, GM, and I definitely see an increase in the Giants' expectations. But with increased expectations come with increased pressure. Daniel Jones goes from we're trying to save this rookie QB, this young quarterback, to now he's making $40 million. Now he's expected to be the franchise guy. He's expected to be that dude on a team where they have better offensive talent around him, but it's still not as good as the other two teams in the division who I think will be better. But there's good talent on there. And then defensively, I like what they have on the defensive line. Leonard Williams, obviously Dexter Lawrence. Aziz, if he can ever stay healthy, could be a good player for them.
He's only played 2 seasons and was hurt one of them, so 50-50, and now he's injured.
In college too, though. So we know Aziz was hurt in college too. That's why you got him at 51.
He was hurt coming out of college. That is correct. That is correct.
But Thibodeau is my breakout player of the year candidate. He was my number one player in the 2022 class. I expect him to be very, very good. And he started to show those flashes at the end of the season last year. If he can keep that consistency up, the Giants can have a really formidable front seven with Wink Mark. I like the Okereke signing from the Colts as well. The Giants can have a really good front seven. Where I worry about the Giants is in the passing game, offensively and defensively. I like Darren Waller, but he can be inconsistent. And is he really the top option? I feel like he needs to be more of like a secondary playmaker option. So we'll see how Hyatt or Hodges or Wandale, the assortment of slot receivers that the Giants employ on their team, how they're able to scrape that together with Brian Daboll. Defensively, I think they'll be starting two rookies on the outside. Dory Jackson moving into the slot. Xavier McKinney sounds like he's a little upset with the management, and that can always lead to up and down play and stuff like that. But the Giants have a good team. The Giants have a very good roster. They won 10 games last year. I think they did nothing to get better. 9 games. I think they did nothing to get better. I think they'll be a playoff team again this year. No doubt about it. In the spirit, this is going to be looked at as bias, obviously, but we're a good team regardless. But in the spirit of the NFC East, nobody wins that division 2 years in a row. And since nobody wins the division 2 years in a row, the Philadelphia Eagles will be finishing number 2 in the division. And the Eagles, obviously, big-time Super Bowl run last year. I think there was some fool's gold in that. And here we go. Coaching changes. They lost both of their coordinators, a couple of offensive linemen, a couple of defensive starters. It's been a few. They're relying on rookie replacements to kind of replace those guys. And it's easy. Jalen Carter could easily be better than Javon Hargrave this year. Like, it could easily be possible. But he also could not be because he's a rookie. And Hargrave was one of the better D tackles in the league. And you look at the same thing with Nakobe Dean to TJ Edwards and those type of things. Bradbury, even though they kept him around, he started to show some falling off towards the end of the season last year. He's an older cornerback as well. The Philadelphia Eagles are still one of the best 3 teams in the conference, but you can see the little things being laid around for them to have a little bit of regression. And then most importantly, no quarterback head coach combo who's gone to the Super Bowl and lost has ever gotten back. So that story, there's a lot of things going against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Who told you that stat? Who told you that stat all this? I told you that stat in 2016. In 2016, and it stands.
It remains true to this day. It's becoming almost a fact. You better win that first one. So Philadelphia Eagles still arguably they can still win the division. Obviously, like it wouldn't be a surprise if Philly won the division because they're a super talented team. But that first place schedule this year, you should look at the schedule between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That is a murderer's row list of teams right there. And I expect Philadelphia to have a little bit of regression. Last year, they won 14 games, I think. They'll still be an 11-12 win team, but I don't think they'll win the division. And for number 1, my Dallas Cowboys retake the division after a year of having it taken away from the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys obviously got sent home by San Francisco in the playoffs again last year. They got to do something about that. But that doesn't account for what's going on in the division where they've been within the division, the Cowboys have owned the division over these last couple of years. And they addressed their 2 biggest weak points. Cornerback 2, wide receiver 2. They finally went out there and added veteran pieces, guys who with Super Bowl experience, with championship experience, and guys who haven't completely fallen off a cliff. Brandon Cooks, only 30, I think he's 29, maybe he's up to turn 30. He's been one of the most consistent receivers in the league, and you're adding him to one of the worst receiving cores in the league last year to pair him with CeeDee Lamb. That should be a massive upgrade over Noah Brown. Ask CJ Stroud how Noah Brown's going to look. And then defensively, the second biggest addition, the addition that may have saved the Cowboys season last year, Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore had a top 10 cornerback season last year. You could argue he's the best cornerback on the team, and that's on a cornerback secondary with Trayvon Diggs on it. The Cowboys have one of the deepest secondaries in the room. This should be the best defense in the league. Like, this should be the best defense or top 3 defense at worst in the NFL. Micah Parsons making the full-time transition to edge. We expect him to be one of the best defensive players, if not the best non-quarterback in the NFL. The Cowboys should have a spectacular defense, and that's what they're going to hang their hat on. Dan Quinn coaching those guys up. They should be they should be an all-world defense. Offensively, they were still a top 10 unit last year, despite not having the same amount of talent. 240 terrible Ezekiel Elliott carries are finally off the books. They don't have to give him the ball anymore. and the guy who's been averaging 5 yards a carry can get the ball again, except for the guy averaging 3.9. That should give the offense an upgrade right there. The biggest X factor for the Cowboys, Kellen Moore versus Mike McCarthy. Kellen Moore got fired. He's been producing the top 5 offense since he got the offensive coordinator job. I also don't think it's a coincidence that a coordinator who produced like that got fired and had to settle for the same job. Most of those guys who are doing that upgrade into a head coaching job. So I think that should tell you a lot about what the league thinks of Kellen Moore and how much his quarterback has helped carry his offense. But Kellen Moore but Mike McCarthy could be worse. Like Kellen Moore isn't a bad coordinator, so Mike McCarthy could easily be worse and bring the offense to a downspin as well. But if Mike McCarthy is just decent, as good as Kellen Moore or better, the Cowboys will continue to have a consistent offense as well. I expect them to be one of the top 3 teams in the conference and take the NFC East this year.
That's a nice soliloquy there, Moody. Nice soliloquy. I like everything you said there. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with everything you just said there in that order. Starting with Washington, everything was good until Terry McLaurin got hurt because they were trying to break a damn preseason streak. Does that not sound like...
They're going to be the August preseason champions.
Terrible. Terrible. Because Terry McLaurin, we know how we feel about Terry McLaurin here, and all we do is talk. That's a tough. If he's got to fight through an injury all year long, a lower leg injury, that's tough. Hopefully Dotson will step up. Curtis Samuel, Sam Howell will save Diami Brown's career because that's his guy. So I think they're good there. Eric Bieniemy looks like he's getting on the ass. They need someone to get on the ass. The real question is what's going on. How much leeway do they have? How far can they fall before Ron Rivera might get axed for Bieniemy? But if they keep everybody goes the distance, head coach, OC, DC, because Del Rio's actually turned that defense around. This is going to be a team that, like we said about the New England Patriots, like we said about Tennessee, they're not going to probably be a world beater, but they could beat any team any week, and that's annoying alone. Now, I think they have the worst quarterback in the division. I think their offensive line is going to hold them back still.
Yeah,
it's not a great offensive line. So that alone is the reason that they're penciled in. If they had fixed those problems, I'd say this division could get 4 teams in. Maybe Washington will fix those last problems next year, and that'll be prophesized for next year. But for now, we'll say 7-10. It's kind of where they've been for like the last 7-10, 8-9, 9-8. It's kind of where they've been for the last 10 years. So new owner, same Commanders / Washington football team / name that should not be repeated, but apparently it's coming back.
It might be. There's a petition.
They really hated.
They trying to get that name changed.
They really hated Dan Snyder. If all of a sudden he's gone, you can have the name back again. That's. I thought there was a reason we got rid of the name. Oh, we just didn't like Dan Snyder. At 3, because I'm not gonna jinx it, and if the Giants gonna win the division, I'm gonna let that happen, and I'm okay to be wrong about Washington, wrong to see that witness. So I think the Giants make the playoffs because the NFC is so bad. I think they upgraded everywhere. I think they're going to be a better team. They might not have a better record unless they win 10 games, which they tied last year. If they avoid the tie, they have a chance to win, be a better team record-wise as well. But Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt, that's going to make the offense so much more explosive. Running in the backfield, the most dynamic running duo, quarterback, running back, Saquon Barkley, Danny Dimes, who graduated to Danny Dollar Signs this offseason. Hopefully, the Mars have found a way to, get Saquon Barkley that money under the table. I think they can. I think they will. So keep him happy. Darren Waller, got to stay healthy. I'm scared because they were feeding him, and not only were they feeding him, and they were he was taking some bad hits, and that kind of made me scared because he's not a guy that's going to be able to
He's not a durable guy. He's not a
very durable guy. Jalen Hyatt, hopefully he could break out and bust out because I believe in that kid. I thought he was the second best receiver in the class. The fact that he fell to the 3rd round is ridiculous. And then John Michael Smith, another guy, could have been a first-rounder, but I think he's a plug-and-play center. Creed Humphreys, for Kansas City. Mike Kafka came from Kansas City, so he knows all about how to use a guy like that. I think, but the ceiling for the Giants comes down to two players. The two players they took in the top 10 last year. If Evan Neal could become the next Andrew Thomas and Kayvon Thibodeau could become the next great Giants pass rusher, that's how they could win the division. Because then, now the offensive line is elite. Now the defensive line is elite. So and then the biggest scare is that they'll be starting two rookie corners and.
Rookie corners are rookie corners. It's just what it is.
Do with that what you will. But yeah, Giants at 3. Eagles, they got to regress. They're still probably going to win 11, 12 games, but they're not going to run away with this conference and division again with that schedule. Last year, they were playing a lot of. They were the best team playing that bad schedule that all the teams in our conference played, and I believe they actually finished in last place the year before, or they were in the playoffs.
They were a playoff team the year before, so they were playing the
they were playing the AFC South, so we already know what to do with that. They could win the division for the first. They were the last team to win it back-to-back years, but it hasn't happened in 20 years. So when it happens, I'll believe it. So for the Cowboys. As for the Cowboys, I agree with Moody. I think adding Stephon Gilmore to Trayvon Diggs is the exact. Unless Stephon Gilmore falls off a cliff, which is possible.
He's 33, so
it's possible. But if they could drain the last good season out of Stephon Gilmore, easily the best defense in the league. Micah Parsons will be hearing about this bag that Nick Bosa collected earlier today and know that I got to go get that. Probably my choice for DPOY. We'll see. Haven't really penciled that in yet. But yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys mainly because there's this rumor going around that no one wins the NFC East back-to-back years. So not going to jinx the Giants. They could. I could see the Giants winning 11 to 12 games. I could see all the top 3 teams winning 11 to 12 games, but I think the Giants have the lowest floor because their roster's just not there. There are a lot of young guys that are waiting to get there, and they're just young all around. And then I just think the Eagles are due for aggression. And I think that luckily, I know the Giants can't beat the Eagles, but I do know the Cowboys can beat the Eagles, and that's going to be the key to winning the division. So Cowboys, Philly, Giants, Commanders, but the toughest division outside of the AFC North for sure.
Yep. We're in lockstep there. All right, now we can go ahead through our conference predictions to see who finishes 1 through 7. I'll go ahead and start with my 7 will be the New York Giants. They'll be the last team in, the last NFC East team in. I think everybody in the playoffs outside of the 2 division winners, crazy enough, will have pretty good seasons. I think they'll all win 10-plus games. There are 2 division winners who I don't think will, and that'll break down the quality of the playoffs. But I think the Giants will get there at 7. At number 6, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're a very, very good team. They just got they're just a little bit of a lower ceiling than a team in their division, which gets them stuck in a wild card spot. Number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll finish second in the division. They'll be a really good team. They have a high floor. We'll just see how much the regression monster really comes for them. At number 4, the NFC South winner, the Atlanta Falcons. They can win this division with 7 wins, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised. But I think Atlanta's a little bit better than that. I think they have a higher floor. I think they'll win 8-9 games and take the division relatively comfortably. At number 3, the Detroit Lions. Here we go. The Detroit Lions having a 3-seeded home playoff game. Not something you see every day. Actually, have we ever seen it in our lifetime? I'm not sure. But the Detroit Lions finally stepping up.
We know they haven't. They've never won the division.
So they've never never even hosted. Yeah, it's bad. Real bad in Detroit. So the fact that this is their time. It's really a couple of teams are playing in now or never situations. This is a now or never situation for them. At the number 2 seed, the other now or never team, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak's got a $60 million cap hit next year, and a no tag, no trade clause in his contract. So that's coming to a head this year. It's a make or break for him. It's a make or break for Mike McCarthy. This team needs to be in the NFC Championship game next year. That's really what their expectation is. If they're not, it'll be major changes going on. Even though they re-signed a lot of guys, there's a couple of core guys running this team that can still be moved out if things don't go the way they need to. NFC Championship game or bust for them. In the number 1 seed, I'll pick the San Francisco 49ers. They get Nick Bosa back just in the nick of time. George Kittle's dealing with his yearly injury, but that never really seems to stop them anyway. That they just have too much talent. Too much talent. Brock Purdy being back healthy earlier than I expected changes things for me. I think they'll be the top seed in the NFC.
Cool. So you want to run through that one more time?
So I was the Niners, Cowboys, Lions, Falcons, Eagles, Seahawks, Giants.
Cool. So I will go with the Cowboys as the 1 seed. You know, they might not, they're still probably not going to win a Super Bowl, still probably not going to go to the NFC Championship game, but we've seen lots of 1 seed Cowboys teams. That's the best part. You know, high expectations going into playoffs and a hard playoff loss. So Cowboys at 1. I'll go with
Seattle. The Niners to win the division makes the 2 seed really hard to pick.
Seattle, no, it does. Seattle at 2. I think Seattle's better than Detroit. Detroit at 3, and then the NFC South team, which I picked Atlanta's.
You picked Atlanta.
I did pick Atlanta, but I'm the big Atlanta at 4. I just can't see it. I at least believe in Detroit's ceiling more than Atlanta's ceiling. So I'll go Atlanta at 4. Eagles at 5. San Fran at 6. Giants at 7. I'll run through that one more time. Cowboys at 1. I'm sorry. Cowboys at 1.
Seahawks.
Seahawks at 2. Detroit at 3. Atlanta at 4. Eagles at 5. San Fran at 6. Giants at 7.
Oh, Isaiah, your conference predictions certainly make for a more fun NFC season. That means the NFC might be a little better than we're expecting if the Seahawks can make a jump like that. But I think that'll be it. And it's the best conference podcast episode finished. NFC Beast will be doing the job again this year. Get ready to watch them on Fox at 1 and 4 every single week, and even sometimes on prime time. We can be
Lots of time on prime time. Lots of time on prime time. All right, though. It was good. Can't wait. We'll be back for the award predictions / Super Bowl predictions by the end of the week. Catch you later, Moody.